Good afternoon, everybody. Kevin Addix here with the Maryland Wineries Association, and I am very proud and pleased to be hosting Michael McGeary from Rocklands Farm Wineries. First time we've had Rocklands Farm on. Michael, welcome.
Howdy. Hey, Kevin. Hi. Thanks for having me.
Happy snow day.
Yeah, you as well. You as well.
So I always think of Rocklands Farm as a hidden gem just in general. Now you're kind of on the back roads in Montgomery County technically in Poolesville, right?
Yep, that is correct. Yeah, technically in Poolesville is a good way to say it.
And I always find that people who know about it, it's almost like a secret. Like they're like very excited about it because it's not, you don't stumble upon Rocklands Winery.
Exactly.
You have to go to Rocklands Winery. What was your experience the first time you kind of pulled in?
Yes, that's a great question. Yeah, my experience was definitely a feeling of, am I in the right place? Am I, making these turns, these little roads, a lot of potholes and everything. But like you said, it really is a hidden gem. When you walk on the property, it really opens up and you sort of start to see the beauty of the property and the farm there. So.
And it's quite a diversified farm. So wine is not the first or last thing they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah. So the story with Rocklands is we really never meant to be a winery. It was originally founded to do organic produce and livestock. And so, as we like to joke, we started making wine, and then we realized people cared a lot more about wine than cucumbers. So we got a lot more people coming out for that, and slowly started transition to be more of a winery. But we still do livestock. So there is livestock raised on property. So we do cattle, sheep and pigs, as well as chickens. But the wine has definitely become the primary source of the business.
And what I love about it is you don't come into the wine cellar and necessarily see Chardonnay on the label. You've got a bunch of cool blends. I know we're going to try Chardonnay, but
yeah.
You've got really interesting blends. And my sense is, just as an outsider, you're coming about winemaking from a different perspective.
Yeah, I think that is correct. And specifically to the labels, yeah, that's something we've talked about, and it sort of gives us a lot of freedom in making the blends. We do like to maintain a consistency, so each of our wines has an identity, so you know what you're getting. But as we get into the wines, we'll talk about them. But yeah, none of our wines are varietally labeled, meaning that we all have a different name for each of them, which again allows us to sort of every year sort of work with what the harvest gives us, different fruit sources to sort of make up the wine. So yeah, I really enjoy it as a winemaker. It gives me a lot of flexibility. I'm not locked in to say, oh, I need to make this amount of just Chardonnay. Say we find that it blends really well with, something else like Sauvignon Blanc or something, then it really gives me that freedom to work with the wines to sort of create something we're really happy with. So
what's your personal background in winemaking?
Yeah, so my background in winemaking, I'll give you the short, long story here. But I, right after college, started working in restaurants. I fell in love with wine, living in a ski town in Colorado. But, the more I started working this restaurant, my managers just kept teaching me about wine, eventually convinced me to start studying for the Somm. So I started studying in that route. And then I eventually switched course. So in 2012, I moved out to California in Napa, just jumped right into a harvest, had no idea what I was getting myself into. Took about 2 weeks, but about 2 weeks later, I realized, oh yeah, this is much more my speed. I actually get to make the wine, less customer interface. I'm a little better with that. So I was out in Napa for about 4 years, working at a winery. I did a couple harvests abroad, so I was able to go some different countries, see how wine is made elsewhere. And then I eventually went back to school. I went and got my master's degree for viticulture enology in Switzerland, so just outside Geneva. So I was there for about 1.5 years. And then afterwards, wanted to come back to the United States. So I landed in Charlottesville. Just outside Charlottesville is at King Family Vineyards. I was the assistant winemaker there. And then moved up to Rocklands June 2019. So I've been at Rocklands now just about 1.5 years.
That's great. And so tell me what doing the masters in Switzerland. I mean, how is that different? What unique take did they have on winemaking?
Yeah, actually what's really interesting about Switzerland is for a European country, they've really embraced the hybrids. That was actually funny enough, even before coming to the East Coast, I got hybrids in my head just because the Swiss, they've developed quite a few at Agroscope, which is the scientific branch of the government there. And yeah, compared to France and some of these other countries, rather than reject hybrids, they've really embraced them. So really just a pragmatic approach, I'd say, to the future of winemaking, especially, when it comes to sustainability, vineyard management and whatnot. From a winemaking style, I mean, I'd say the Swiss sort of live up to their stereotypes in a way. They're very on it. I think they're very exact with their winemaking. I was able to do a harvest while I was there, and it was definitely an interesting experience, but some great wines, Pinot Noir, Gamay, Chasselas, which is sort of the Swiss varietal. They do a lot of, obviously, but then, like I said, a lot of these different hybrids that they work with. So really a fascinating place and really overlooked. They don't export a whole lot of wine, worldwide. And that's primarily due to just the cost of Switzerland. They can't compete on the world market with, say, France or Germany, Italy. Their bottles are much more expensive. So a lot of good wine, but the Swiss drink it all. So you really got to search out to find it.
Interesting. Tell me about their kind of country varietal. Did you say Chasselas?
Yeah, Chasselas. So it's very. I can't say it's the most exciting varietal. It's very limited in its aromatics, but they do a lot of different styles with it. Do sparkling, do it still. A lot of times they'll either put it through malolactic, not through malolactic, so you get to see sort of both ends of that. And honestly, actually, a white wine that ages very well. Something I noticed. I had the opportunity to open quite a few bottles, and it really just sort of got into more of these tertiary, interesting flavors from some bottle aging. So, impressive. But I do think I'd probably stick personally more to Pinot and Gamay than the Chasselas. But still a very interesting wine.
Did any of the Swiss hybrids? Have they stuck with you, and have you worked with any of them here?
Yeah, no, I haven't worked with any here. It's something we've talked about at Rocklands and looking. We're trying to embrace the hybrid move. So we've been looking at different ones. None particularly come to mind. I think like everything, we'd have to be trying to see what works and what doesn't. But I'd have to break out the list of the hybrids because they've got quite a few, and I can't remember them all. But I used to do a lot of tastings there, and was pretty impressed with a few of them.
If you haven't connected with our state viticulturist Joe Fiola, I think he's growing one or two of the Swiss hybrids.
I think he is. Yeah, I've actually talked to Joe. Yeah, so I should get back in touch with him. But yes.
So jumping back to Rocklands. So where does Rocklands fit in terms of the basic style? You said you like the non-varietal names so that you can be flexible with what comes in the harvest. But what's kind of the winemaking mission or goal?
Yeah. So I'd say our goal, and, even take a step back, just again, back to the founding of Rocklands, really grew very organically. So I think the beginning, even before I was there, they're trying their hand at all different things. So you see it in the vineyard. We have about 8 acres of vineyard planted, and we had up to 15 varietals at one point. So we really were trying everything, seeing what worked, seeing what didn't, and now really taking in those lessons and sort of moving forward with that. So as far as the style goes and the winemaking philosophy, it's cliche, but we all say it, the winemaking starts in the vineyard. So from that approach, we're really trying to be pragmatic, but as hands-off as we can in the vineyard. I think there's a certain reality to being in the mid-Atlantic on the East Coast. And we're accepting of that, where we're not going to say we're going to try to be organic or try to be biodynamic tomorrow, but at the same time, trying to take steps in those directions. So we can say, from a product standpoint, that our customers are getting something that, we're not spraying, constantly in the vineyard and just trying to manage that. And then from moving into the winery, that same approach holds true. So we're just trying to do as minimal intervention, I'd say, is our sort of guiding philosophy within the winery. And really with this idea of expressing the fruit that we're getting. So we don't use any new oak. We don't use any sort of additive oak, any type of added tannin. So, we really want to give what the Mid-Atlantic is offering as far as like the structure and the size of the wines. And then the other end of things, trying to be limited in using yeast and different things like that. So really just trying to make something that, again, is expressing from the vineyard. And then with the varietals, we're open to anything. Like I said, we're really trying to embrace hybrids. So we work with Chardonnay, we work with Chambourcin. These are two, but also looking to some others in the future. And then also working with vinifera. So we do the 4 Bordeaux varietals. We don't use Malbec, but we grow the 4 on our property, and also source fruit in Maryland as well. And then work with some other stuff. We work with Gruner Veltliner. We work with Tannat, work with Viognier, just some other, vinifera that you see a lot around. And lest I forget, Petit Manseng, which is another for vinifera we're very, very bullish on. That's, I think, shown a lot of promise in the vineyard, and really happy with some of the wines we made with it.
So you grow some, you buy some.
We do.
Of the grapes you're buying, what are you seeing in terms of what grows well where?
Yes. So we've been really fortunate with who we've been sourcing fruit from, primarily up in Cecil County. We found they've done a really good job with Gruner Veltliner and Sauvignon Blanc. Really for us, when we're making the wines, we're a big fan of, the natural acidity. So really trying to preserve acid. So always trying to convince people to harvest earlier and earlier for us. I think that we found that. So those have been working well. And then, for reds, again, I think we haven't, and I think I found we've liked Merlot elsewhere. We've had issues on our own property growing it. I think we're just a little too cold, and we've suffered, quite a bit of winter damage over the years from it. But I've been really happy with some Merlot that we've been sourcing, as well as I do think Petit Verdot, Cab Franc are the two, for me, red vinifera that really have shown a lot of promise that we've worked with. And
you also source out of state. You cross the Potomac.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll go down to Virginia. We've gone up to Pennsylvania. Our philosophy is, trying to keep it regional. In the past, we have sourced from California, and, that's something that we just, I think, found as a company that we'd like to stick in the region. I think we're very, very, we think the Mid-Atlantic has a lot to offer. And so I think with that idea of just like sticking here regionally, frankly, a lot of it's just, if there's more grapes in Maryland, we'd try to be 100% Maryland, but we also have what is a growing tasting room and a growing business and a growing demand for our wines. And so
you got to feed it. Feed the demand.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to, look elsewhere. And, for me, it's, sourcing from Virginia or Pennsylvania, or any surrounding state. Again, try to keep it regional is sort of our idea. And really just having a relationship with our growers. The reality is that we're not going to be able to dictate what anyone does in their vineyard, but really trying to work with growers that sort of know our philosophy to say, hey, like we would take a little less fruit, maybe even something that looks a little, rougher coming in, if it meant to pull back on a spray a little earlier or something like that. So really trying to find those relationships. But, every year we're learning and building new relationships and, sort of moving forward with that.
I think experienced wine drinkers understand it, but maybe haven't thought about it. I think new wine drinkers sometimes don't understand that grapes taste like where they're from. Terroir is a real thing. And so I don't know that you could say that Maryland as a state has a terroir, but Rockland has a terroir, and your vineyard that you work with in Cecil County has a terroir, and the one in Pennsylvania or Virginia have a terroir. And they're probably not too far apart, but if you were to buy grapes from California and bring them in, or Argentina and bring them in, you're now introducing a completely different flavor profile and unique from the rest of your line.
Yeah. Oh, completely. And, again, back to our winemaking philosophy is, we talk about this to our customers. We get people that walk in the door and, they want a Napa Cab, and we just have to frankly tell them we don't have. Yeah. That's not on offer here. We're really proud of our wines. We have a lot to offer. We have what I would call like bigger reds, but we're not going to give you a 15.5% Zinfandel and just, knock your socks off type of thing, because it's just.
No, but that's what Napa's for. Exactly.
And so I think, as our customer base, we've seen, we're just outside of Washington, D.C. So, we get a lot of D.C. customers. So a lot of, I'd say, people are drinking a lot of wine at the wine shops here, different restaurants here. So I think that message does get across, but you still get people, I think, that are looking for California, here. And we just, again, have to deliver the message that this is who we are, this is what we offer. And that's all we can say.
Well, yeah, and also say that if you took a flight and airdropped in Stellenbosch, South Africa, or the Loire Valley or Mendoza, wherever you are, you got to cut everyone a break, because what your reference point is very different than what you're going to try there. So you got to be open to trying whatever that local is, and I've never found something that I didn't like. You just have to be open to it.
Yeah. And to that point, I mean, we found that people really do like what the Mid-Atlantic is producing, both Rocklands and, other surrounding wineries. I've watched these talks and I've seen other winemakers try other wines. I mean, I really think the Mid-Atlantic is just a really uncovered gem, Maryland especially. It's just, you sort of just got to get them to try it. And when they try it, they realize, oh, wow, you guys, okay, like there's a lot of preconceptions people have, but, just get them to taste that first glass and it'll change a lot of minds.
Get them to taste balance and acidity and understand what it is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you have in front of you?
Great. Yeah. So I have 3 different wines. Actually, I have another off screen, but so the first wine I guess I have this is our Ancestry. So I'll try to put this label right up so you can see. Like you mentioned, Kevin, no varietal on the front. So this is just our Ancestry. But we do have put on the back, so we do put that information. So it is a Chardonnay. This is a Pet Nat, so sparkling wine, natural carbonation from the fermentation, but it's bottled during the primary fermentation. So I like to say, Pet Nats, you're really shooting from the hip style of winemaking. We certainly do not have the most advanced, I'd say, laboratory at Rocklands. So I'm pretty much deciding when to bottle this just based on Brix, which, obviously is not a direct correlation to glucose fructose. So it's one of those things you sort of bottle it near the end of fermentation and, hope it doesn't explode. But we're really happy with this wine this year. It's actually the first wine we did at Rocklands that is completely zero additive wine. So we sourced the fruit from Cecil County, but then once it came into the winery, nothing else went into it other than just the grape juice that we got from crushing it. So native fermentation, fermented in barrel, moved it to tank right before bottling, racked it a couple of times to sort of limit the amount of sediment in bottle. That's the other part of it. You can sort of, it doesn't show up in camera. Yeah, you can see unfiltered, obviously, but there's also a bit of sediment here. So, we've talked about disgorging. We released this wine last year, non-disgorged. We really didn't have too much negative feedback from that. I think the reality is that, an undisgorged Pet Nat there's just some people are never going to like it, and that's totally fine. But, the same thing we were just talking about. A lot of times you pour this wine in front of someone, they try it, they're pretty happy. The grapes harvested really early, so very acidic, natural acidity, lower fruit profile, mainly like the citrus fruits, a lot of lemon, lime, and then also a bit of that like biscuit sort of yeasty flavor, fermentation in bottles. So
that's great. So for the unknowing, a Pet Nat is essentially a lightly bubbling, natural sparkling wine.
Yes, exactly. So we actually also do another sparkling in the traditional method. We had in the past done with forced carbonation, and then when I came on, we switched it. So actually, our 2019, which was my first harvest, we're going to disgorge here in the next month or so, and that will be coming out. So our idea with that, and we do that actually with Chambourcin, but our idea with the Pet Nat, say, we'll do one that's sort of, the hipster wine, and you can have your, and sort of enjoy it, and the other a little cleaner sparkling. So sort of give, 2 lanes for people who want to have sparkling.
So people know I'm a bubbles junkie. So I need to get my hands on the Ancestry. But tell me, give us a sneak peek of the Chambourcin sparkling.
Yes. So I am actually at home, so I don't have the bottle here. But this is actually a pretty cool wine. We fermented the juice last year, and then we aged it for a year in barrel. And then this year, what we harvested for 2020, we took a portion of that juice, allowed it to start a natural fermentation, so without pitching yeast, and then pumped that juice into the 2019 wine, and then bottled that under fermentation, and then we will disgorge it. So it's 100% Chambourcin. It will be, I'm very, very excited about it. I think Chambourcin like back to, being really all about the hybrids. It's really fun to work with. I mean, the fruit comes in, it's just gorgeous. You always wonder why you just don't grow Chamberson only. But and then the wine has a really nice fruit profile, but also again that aged sort of characteristic from that year in barrel. So
is it finished dry?
Yes, it is dry. Yeah, so all these wines stay are dry, and they both finish dry. So
one. All right. Do you have a name for it yet?
Yeah, it's called the Medley District, which is a label we have continued. So we had done that in the past with Chamberson, and had done some forced carbonation with it, which again worked and it was fun. But from a winemaking side of things, I don't know. I'm with you. I love sparkling wine. It's always what I find myself drinking, and I love making sparkling wine. So anything I can get to bottle live in the bottle, to ferment in the bottle, I'm always going to be on board with. So so we're real excited about it. But yeah, the Medley District.
So Michael, we've got a question here that one of our guests or one of our viewers, Rona, has posed before, and it is, why are Maryland wines so expensive?
That's that's a very good question.
I've got an answer, but I'd love to hear yours.
Yeah, I don't know if I do have a good answer, because I wonder about that. Sean, one of our founders, he works with on the other side of the business and in distribution and whatnot. So he deals with a lot of European wineries, and we always joke how he goes to these places and they're, farming. It's like super hands, and then they're selling the bottle for €3 a bottle, and we're just wondering, how is that even possible? Like, how do we keep up with that? So I don't know. We try to keep costs as low as we can. We really are not marking bottles up too much, but yeah, I don't know. I think it takes money to make a handcrafted quality product, and we're certainly trying to cut costs. But you might have a better answer than me, Kevin.
Well, the short answer is it's just simple economics. It's the fact that to make the product, it is expensive, and when just because the quantity is low, so the production quantity is low, the economy of scale in the vineyard, no one in Maryland has hit a true economy of scale growing grapes. Mm-hmm. And so, I sat with a winemaker when they were deducing the amount from how much it costs to grow, how much it costs to make, actually billing their time, on and on and on. They weren't charging nearly enough to actually cover that cost.
Yeah.
And they were in the, $20 to $30 bottle range.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's the same reason why, local crafts and other local products, local cheese tends to be at a premium. It's just because to actually make it and actually do it locally and buy the glass at the low,
mm-hmm.
production numbers and everything else, it just costs more.
Yeah.
So that's my answer, and I'll keep giving it. But
and we would say, at Rocklands, again, I know it's not the cheapest bottles, but we try to stay within the $20 to $30 range. We have some wines in the mid 30s. Our most expensive wine, I think, is $45 a bottle. So yeah, obviously $45 a bottle is, it's a lot of money to pay for a bottle of wine, but we really we're cognizant of trying to keep it, as low as we can and be realistic about the price of the bottle. Because at the end of the day, it's fun to make wine and have everyone be able to enjoy it. We never want to price anyone out. It's, winemaking's really, it's for everyone, for the people, anyone who wants to drink wine. So we're trying, whoever asked that question, but if you have any ideas.
Sure. And I also work with the local breweries, and, the price of a 4-pack of beer from a local brewery has gone up. So it's always shocking to someone who maybe isn't familiar with craft beer, that they're paying $15 maybe for a 4-pack of 16-ounce cans, and it's local. You don't need to buy it, but we sure hope you give it a try.
Exactly. Okay, great. So our wine number 2, show you this. Oh, sorry. I might have cut out there for a second. Am I on? Okay, great. So this is our farmhouse. I'll turn around. So this is Chamberson. So as I mentioned, I'm big fan of Chamberson, and really, tried a lot of different styles here in the region and been impressed. And we wanted to do something that, we thought would be a cool way to use Chamberson, which was our carbonic maceration. So this is 100% carbonic. We put it in stainless steel, just gas it, leave it there for a couple weeks, and then, open it up and sort of get that, actually yeast-driven fermentation going. So the idea of this wine is to make, really fruit-forward, juicy, sort of, just like candy style red fruit wine. Very little tannin, not really meant to age too long. So, more or less drink it within a year or two. And, very similar to the, Beaujolais Nouveau. So as I like to say, this is just us paying respects to Beaujolais, but then adding sort of a, North, American twist with the hybrid grape, here from Maryland.
Chamberson does really well with carbonic.
Yes. Yeah. I found it just because, again, I feel the fruit always comes in. It's so clean. At least from, our sources of fruit we've been dealing with, it just looks so clean when it comes in. So there's not even, it's just, you sort of have to search to find anything that's sort of wrong, any sort of, mold or, fungal or anything like that. So I do think it lends itself because, really limited sort of VA potential. That's always a fear with carbonic is, at least I do. I just put in the tank, shut it, and then you walk away and you just, man, I hope I don't open this up 2 weeks from now and it smells like vinegar type of thing. So, right. I think clean fruit is really important. So Chamberson really lends itself to a carbonic.
Yeah, and the carbonic brings out that really, really bright cherry, bright strawberry fruit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, it's been an interesting wine. Honestly, this is a wine that it really does take some explaining to customers sometimes because it is 100% stainless steel. So it never goes to barrel. So when it's bottled, we bottle in January and it has, a lot of dissolved CO2. So there's really like this lift that I don't think is usually present in what is a red wine. So, we get responses. People think that it's, some sort of sparkling wine or there's something else. So I think it sort of takes this conversation. And again, I think people really like it, but we also have to be wary that to say, hey, if you're looking for a barrel-aged red, we're not going to steer you towards, the Chamberson Carbonic. We're going to steer you towards, what is, Bordeaux blend that went to barrel for 9 months. So again, people really like it, but it also is a wine that sometimes we get responses to say like, hey, this doesn't taste like a red wine.
So that one's 100% Chamberson. Do you have Chamberson elsewhere in the line? Or we
do just with, so we just do the farmhouse and then, like I said, that medley district. So we use just Chamberson for those two. So we're trying to sort of keep vinifera with vinifera and then the hybrids in their own lanes. So, all of our other reds are vinifera. It's not to say we're locked into that. It's just sort of what we're working with right now. But we do like to just keep the Chamberson all together.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. What's behind door number 3?
Door number 3. Yes. So this is put it up. So this is our Sun Gold. And actually a cool story of this. Yeah. It's our owner, his wife has a flower company that works actually on the property of Rocklands named Sun Gold. So, being his wife, she got a label of her own. But this is on the back. You actually see this is Viognier. And it's actually from Virginia. So just north of Charlottesville is where we source this. And it's a skin macerated. So it's our orange wine. I really like Viognier for an orange wine, to be frank. I got this idea from Matt too down at King Family when I worked there. I really like the aromatics on Viognier. And I think, making an orange style wine, you sort of obviously expose it a lot more to oxygen than you would a normal white wine. So I think you really want something that's going to hang through there and then still have some aromatics at the end of the day to express itself. So, we're really happy with this wine. It was on its skin for about 3 weeks. Like I said, made like a red wine, get a punch down every day, pressed it, moved it to barrel, sat in barrel for about 9 months. And then we bottled it, late July. So it's unfiltered, unfined. So a little cloudy, but, obviously nothing like the Pet Nat or anything like that. But we really like it. I think another wine that takes some explanation. I think orange wines are a little more understood by the general consumer these days as they've had enough exposure to it. But the same thing where I think if someone thinks you're going to get a, crisp Sauvignon Blanc and they open an orange wine, they're a little confused by all that tannin and structure. But at the same time, it also lends itself to that person who, is the red wine drinker that never drinks white wine. And then we say, well, here, try this. And they say, oh yeah, actually I like that. And you say, oh, there's a lot of similarities there. So, we're really happy with it. It's funny, I talked about the Viognier so much, and this year we actually switched it to Petit Manseng, which is another, wine, a lot of, again, aromatics. I think in the vineyard, at least personally from what I understand and what I've seen, a little more hardy than Viognier. So we like, Petit Manseng is a long-term plan. But again, both of them, I think, really happy with, and the orange wine category is something we're having a lot of fun with.
Yeah, Viognier, generally, I have heard is fussy.
Yeah. We don't grow any, so I can't say I have any experience. But it's just, that's one I've certainly learned a lot from, just talking to other growers in the area and just sort of trying to get everyone's ear. And yeah, I think fussy is a good way to put it. Is a lot of the feedback that I get.
Yeah, we had one grower who at one of our meetings just said, I worked it so hard one year, I pissed it off, and it didn't fruit at all the next year. No freeze, no frost, just didn't fruit.
Yeah.
So, and the yields were just low. So I'm hearing great things about Petit Manseng.
Yeah. We did a small planting of it a few years ago. We were going to have it up online this year, and then we got hit by that, the spring, frost pretty bad. We basically worked at about 20% capacity for this year from our vineyard. So that was a big blow for us. And, Petit Manseng was one of the varietals that took a big hit there. So we're hoping to have, more of our own this year to express, but this is all, looking for 2021 to really see what things shake out in the vineyard there. But
add it to the list of things we're looking forward to in 2021.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. The Petit Manseng harvest is one of them for sure.
So you said you had something off camera as well.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, sorry, I didn't make the spot. So this is our spring house. So you can see the label there, spring house. And then this is Chardonnay. So again, a hybrid. I think Chardonnay, if there is one hybrid I've just been blown away with, it's Chardonnay. I think I came into this, the region, and people talk to me about Chardonnay. It's good. It has good acid, but it's not very, expressive. But I don't know. I found that we've really been able to make some really aromatic. Again, it's not going to be Viognier. It's not going to be floral. Anything
Right.
like
It's different. Right.
Yeah, I like to say, it's lean and green, but it's really nice acid, sort of good thing to drink on a, warm summer day, which is a lot of our customer base coming out to Rocklands, springtime, summer, late fall, give them, Chardonnay, they love it. And again, we grow this in our vineyard, and I can say from a management standpoint, it's just night and day when it comes to vinifera, especially obviously with Downey, which is sort of our big battle here at Rocklands. So I love Chardonnay. We love this wine. We actually didn't produce, so this is a 2019, I didn't mention. We didn't produce it this last year just because, again, we lost, to the frost. So we didn't really have enough to make that a viable option, but we'll be bringing it back in 2021. But, I love Chardonnay. So, and also just from surrounding wineries, having tried it, other people talk about it, I just think there's so many good examples of it. I'm really impressed.
Have you done other things with Chardonnay?
We've not, we talked about using it for sparkling. I do think there's obviously some reasons there. Yeah. And so I think that's something we'll definitely probably dip our toes in the future. We just haven't yet, but we've talked about, other sparkling, using it for sparkling basically. But
So tell folks how they can, other than getting to the winery, which, nowadays people may or may not want to get there. We hope that they'll come and buy and take it home. But how can they find the wines? You got a website?
Yeah, so we have a website. Actually, just Google Rocklands Farm. I'm not exactly sure the exact website, but we actually do sell wine online, and we do local delivery, both in Montgomery County and DC. So that's something we're offering for, I think it's like orders over $100. I'm probably the last person in the world you want to know all the details of this side of things. But so we do local delivery. We do ship wine, depending on the state, but obviously locally ship a lot of wine. But other than that, it's pretty much all at the tasting room. We don't do really any distribution other than, some nearby shops and whatnot. So sort of, come to the farm and get it, or go elsewhere. And that's a good, we've talked about that, trying to break more into that market. Because I do think exposing yourself, to people, I think, again, back to the thing, you just got to let people try the wine, and usually they like it.
Yeah. And I've found that, being on the front lines of many a tasting, and I love the tastings where, you're in there with other distributors in the world of wine, and people are walking around and they say, "Oh, it's Maryland wine," and they keep walking. You say, "Well, wait a minute, get back here." All you need to do is try this wine, and inevitably, every time, right, you turn people, and that's the goal of this. That's what's exciting about it. People have such strange preconceived notions about wine, or they had one that was bad years ago.
Yes.
I've had many wines that are bad, but I don't write off Germany.
Exactly.
Or, you mentioned Beaujolais, or you try another one.
Mm-hmm.
So I also know that Rocklands has a wine club.
Yes.
That people can join.
Yep, we do have a wine club. We do quarterly shipments. So we do a 3-bottle, 6-bottle, 12-bottle club. There's also other perks. Obviously in the COVID world, we sort of had to adjust those. So doing live streams, so sort of like Zoom tastings, and other stuff like that. But hopefully 2021 coming back, we'll see how things look, but, more in-person events, and, just some other special privileges there on the farm. And then you also have the, opportunity to mix and match sort of your cases. So we don't lock you into 3 wines. It's sort of, you can choose.
You can try, right.
Yeah, exactly what you're looking for.
That's great. So as we wrap up, but what else should people know about the winery and the wines?
Yeah. Well, the winery, it's a beautiful spot. Like I mentioned at the beginning, it's on a historic farm, 34 acres. You can come. Right now we have fire pits, so you can sort of stay warm while being outside. And then especially in the summer, just a lot of open space, very kid friendly. We have ownership that's very dedicated to being a kid friendly winery. So we actually have like a play area for kids, and sort of able to separate the kids from the adults, type of thing. So we're really trying to make it family friendly. We have food trucks, different things on property, live music. So it's a really fun experience. It's 40 minutes outside of DC, very easy to get to, a beautiful drive along River Road. You'll see some houses that are just way beyond my price range of ever being able to afford a house, but sort of these rows of mansions as you go out. So it's a fun drive, fun place to be, a great staff. Everyone there at Taste Room does a great job, and I hope some good wines. But we're really happy with them. And if you like sort of this idea of as low intervention winemaking, then I think we might be sort of your brand to look for, or at least one of the brands to look for as as we go forward in the future here.
Well, I'm sure that's a selling point. And I hope people get out there, even during COVID, in whatever status you're in at any point of open or close or anything like that. So, Michael, I really appreciate you joining us.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
Can't wait to get out there and try the wines again.
Yeah, and thank you, Kevin, and really especially thanks for everything you do for the Maryland wine industry. I think obviously you're just such an important figure, so we appreciate you as well, and thanks for having me on. And hopefully see everyone in person one of these days coming up soon.
Wouldn't that be nice? And yeah, look, it's a team effort, and every day there's a new challenge. But boy, do we love promoting local products, local producers, authentic products, and really just trying to turn more people onto them. So thank you for the work you're doing, and tell the team and the rest of the Rocklands family we said hello.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Take care.
So with that, thanks again for joining us, everybody. And my final plug of the day is we do have our own Wine Explorer Club, Maryland Wine Explorer. Check out marylandwine.com/explorer. And we're taking club signups, and we're offering gift cards and kind of gift certificates so that you can sign other people up. Our next round of shipments comes in, and thank you, Carol. Appreciate that. So we will be shipping again starting in January. We've got some very cool packs that we're working on, a red pack, a white pack, and then one or two other very interesting packs that you can add on, whether you're subscribing or just coming in a la carte. So with that, thank you all so much. for being here. And if we don't see you before, happy holidays.